morning, folks. We are heading out to a mine site called Yandi. We're not actually delivering to Yandi, we're going to another mine site called Iron Valley, but to get to Iron Valley we need to go through Yandi mine site. It's a bit of a shortcut. You can go around the long way, which is about 70 odd kilometres of dirt, but if we go through the Yandi mine site, which is owned by BHP, then we're going to cut that down to about 30 kilometres. So to the right here you can see the iron ore train. These trains, well, this one's coming back empty, obviously to get another load of iron ore from the Yandi site. These trains are a couple of kilometres long. They used to be a lot longer, but years ago, or a few years ago, they had a couple of serious accidents in Port Hedland with some of the railway crossings, and they shortened the trains. They used to run anywhere up to 7 or 8, maybe 10 kilometres long, and they've cut that right back to a couple of kilometres long now, so still quite long. I can remember going through Port Hedland and having to wait at a railway crossing for up to 40 minutes for the train to go through. So in hindsight, it's probably a good thing they shortened it, because some of these railway crossings you can get enough time to get out, boil the bloody billy and have a cup of tea, but it's a lot better now. So this Yandi mine site, it's a reasonably new mine. It was built maybe seven or 8 years ago perhaps. I remember the construction phase of it. I didn't actually work on it, but I nearly went there, but I didn't end up going to that one. I went to another one. So it's reasonably new. It's owned by BHP, which, as you know, is a massive worldwide company now, originally from Broken Hill, as mentioned earlier in one of my very early videos. So BHP mine this site. They pull millions of tons of iron ore out of this site every year. So when we get up to the gate and get through the gate, I'll film a little bit of the actual pit. We'll drive past the pit and over the railway line, and it's really quite an amazing sight to see when you're driving through. Just the sheer size of it, and it gives you an idea of the amount of money that companies like this actually have and are spending on the iron ore industry. It just shows you how much money there actually is in iron ore. So these are the two locomotives pulling the train. Oh, they're Rio, sorry, not BHP. But Yandi is owned by BHP. So anyway, we'll get up to the gate, we'll get through, and we'll do a bit more filming. So we've been through the gates at BHP for Yandi mine site. We're now currently on Yandi. It's some 30 kilometres roughly inland from the main highway. As I was saying earlier, Yandi is huge. I've got another roughly 30 kilometres. This is all the 30 kilometres until I get to the dirt road I've got to take anyway, and then it's another 15 or 20 k's of dirt. And like I said, by going this way it cuts off quite a bit of time. So these roads in here, this is all privately owned. You can't just come in here, and the public can't just come in and drive along. I mean, it looks like a normal public road, but it's actually a private road, and BHP's built this to Australian standards for public roads, so it does feel like you're on a public road. So they've got all their own sheds and everything. We'll be coming up past the pit shortly, and I'll film a little bit of that. So iron ore industry came into its own probably around about the 1990s is when it got really big, and the way it was discovered was there was a guy by the name of Lang Hancock. Now that's the one of the big workshops that they've got here. This is the admin building for Yandi site, so quite a large operation. This is only just a small part of what's here, which we will be going through some more. So Lang Hancock was a wealthy businessman in Perth, and he became a mining magnate. And the way he found out about iron ore was he was flying over the Pilbara area in his private airplane, which he used to do a lot, and he noticed that one of his compasses in the airplane was doing crazy stuff, going around in circles, not knowing where north was, and it was sort of jumping all up and down all over the place, which led him to believe that there was something causing that in the ground below. So when he got back to Perth, he sent out a team of people to go and explore and drill and find out what was actually in the ground in this area, because he knew that whatever it was probably going to be worth money, and hence he struck iron ore. He then formed a company called Hammersley Iron. Hammersley Iron no longer exists. You still see it advertised around the place on their trains and so on, the big HI signs for Hammersley Iron, but it got, I believe it got all split up and broken apart and sold off. Lang Hancock, for those of you that don't know, became one of the wealthiest men in Australia through mining. He died quite a few years ago now, and he left his entire net worth to his current wife at the time, Rose Hancock, the Filipino who used to be his Filipino maid, and his children. Now, one of those children was a woman which you would all probably recognise by the name of Gina Reinhardt. So Gina really took control of the business and the iron ore industry, and made a massive impact on the industry. And she, in today's terms, she is the wealthiest woman in the world. They believe her net worth by the year 2020 will be somewhere in the vicinity of $1 trillion US, which will make her the richest person in the world. That was an article that I read a few years ago now, probably 2 years ago. I don't know where she currently stands just at the moment. I'll just see what's going on here. I might have to overtake. So there's a train sitting there, one of the BHP trains. Well, they'll string 3 or 4 of those things together to pull all the carriages. Like I said, they can get quite long. So Lang Hancock, when he died, he left all his net worth to his family members, and there was some quite large court cases over this, of which Gina won quite a few and became what she is today. So we're going past the pit at the moment. When we get round the corner up here, you should see the size and magnitude of just one of several pits that they have here at Yandi. Video really does it justice. It's the sort of thing you really need to be here and see. I don't know that it's going to come out that well in the video, but it'll give you some idea of the actual size of the joint. So like most sites up here, purely because of their geographic location, and they're so far from civilized towns, most of these mine sites, they will have their own airports, and they'll have their own like a mini hospital medical centre, and Yandi's is quite large. A lot of these big sites, the medical centres will cater for pretty much most things. Broken bones they will cater for, and other minor injuries, obviously things like surgery, they get flown out on the next plane to a hospital. But most of the time they can cater for pretty much all burns and all that sort of stuff that probably isn't overly life-threatening. Another iron ore train up there, full of ore, waiting to go into town. And these guys are operating 24 hours around the clock, so they're loading out these trains every single hour of the day. and it'll just be one after the other, constantly going. See all the red dirt? That's the iron content that's in the dirt. And this dirt out here, the dust that it creates is like, it's as fine as talcum powder. Once it starts getting into your vehicles, into your clothes, it's almost impossible to get out. I mean, you can buy a car, an ex-mining car up here, and take it anywhere in Australia, and you will, for the rest of your life, you'll be getting red dust coming out from some crevice or a door jam or somewhere like that. You just never ever get rid of it. So there's a bit more of a pit over there, and this is that same train that I was filming just a second ago, and you can see that they've got 2 locomotives in the middle of the train section to help push all of those cars. So that was Yandi mine site, folks. It was didn't see any dump trucks on the haul road this trip, but maybe next trip we will. So the first time I came out here, now this is the shortcut, I was told we had to turn left straight off the causeway, which I'm doing now. Now last time I had 2 trailers on, and as you can see, you know, it's just a little dirt road, and I thought, when I first come up here, I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. This doesn't look good. But the sign says, welcome to Iron Valley, so this is the way I continued to go. It was a bit of a goat track. It was dark at the time, so I was very dubious about coming up here with 2 trailers. Obviously with 2 trailers on, you go into a situation like this, and if you can't turn around, well, you've just got to unhitch one trailer and just keep going until you find a spot where you can turn around and get out of trouble. So yeah, as it was dark, I was treading water very lightly, so to speak. I was a bit worried at the time. We've got about another 10k of dirt, little dirt road like this to go before I get into Iron Valley.